Yeah,
We live? Kind
we're
of.
live.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name's Reynald Adolph. And go ahead and introduce yourself, Nathan.
Hi everyone, I'm Nathan. Yeah, so this will be my first live, so
Yeah,
should be fun.
semi-live.
Semi-live.
This is kind of pre-recorded right now. But yeah, this video is going to be a demo of like a consultation that Nathan and I do weekly. He's going through a boot camp. I have like a boot camp that's like in a premature phase, just getting molded and figured out. And he's like a perfect person to kind of like go through it. And in this boot camp, he's learning two stacks, the MERN stack and .NET. It's several months, and this week it's just 1 week out of many where we meet and talk about the work that he's doing. I give him some advice on how to improve some stuff, answer any questions that he might have. It's a consultation, like a check-in point. And then so this is an opportunity for you to kind of see how it is like with a real student experiencing like learning how to code for the first time. Is this the very first time that you're learning how to code, or did you ever toy around with it before?
Very first time, so I'm super fresh, super new to all this, so yeah, first experience for sure.
Okay. So I'll give a quick little background on myself, and then you can do the same, Nathan.
Sounds good.
So my name is Ronald Adolph. I think I might have mentioned that before, and I've been in tech for over 20 years. Over the number of years where I don't feel like saying the exact number of years anymore. Been a software engineer for a while, and now I'm a developer advocate. And essentially, a developer advocate is someone that promotes products related to software, and they write blogs, do videos, or go to conferences. Like those people that you see in conferences that talk, presenting new features to products, those are essentially developer advocates. So that's what I do now. And on the side, I'm like have a boot camp that I'm molding, and this is part of the experience. So, Nathan, you want to give a little background about yourself?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm pretty new to this. Before I was just working at a restaurant, and I wasn't sure what to do in my life, and Ray approached me like, hey, want to try coding? And I gave it a try, and about like a year, a little bit more later, this is where I'm at now. And I do want to point out how you brought up the advocate, because not only I'm learning .NET and C# and the MERN stack and JavaScript, but I'm also learning how to be an advocate. So this is kind of part of what I'm learning here, is how to promote myself and learn how to make YouTube content, as you see in my other videos. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's the unique thing about the boot camp that I'm doing. It's not just learning how to code, but it's also how to build your brand. So you're going to hear us talking about him putting together content and producing videos, teaching the stuff that he's learned. Because I believe you learn more by teaching. So you can learn passively just by listening. That's one level. The second level is by having hands-on experience and coding, right? Hands-on experience meaning coding, what you just learned. And that's where most boot camps end. But mine goes like one extra level where you actually begin teaching what you just learned. Because it really, I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, but like when you have to explain what you just learned, it really enforces it. And so I bring all those together in this experience. And it's great because then you end up having a lot more skill sets as a presenter, as like an editor for video content also, as a writer. And then that makes you even more of a solid software engineer, because in the real world, there are going to be times you need to explain what you just did to new colleagues, or colleagues that are reviewing your work, or if you're coming up with an idea for some API that you want to develop, you want to share it with your team, you need to be able to articulate that. So where do you get that practice? A lot of times we don't, just by default, because most of the times engineers just go in and they just code, and now when they have to talk, it's like they're like robots. So I want to pull that fear back and strengthen those public speaking skills incorporated in this experience. So yeah, I think that was a detailed enough intro. So why don't we jump right in and talk about what you did this week. Okay, first of all, how did this week go?
I feel like this week was better than my last week, just because it's still kind of like a new approach because we did kind of modify some things. So compared to last week, it was good. Compared to last week, I only did with just the course. This week, I actually got some videos up. I got to modify or update my personal portfolio, which I'll probably show you next, but I think I'll show you the videos first.
Okay.
So I can start off there, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
So for my videos, jump in here. So I made 3 videos for this week, and surprisingly the best one was the one I didn't think was going to do the best, but it did.
Okay.
And it's Code with Pets.
If you like some company while you're coding, you can get a pet to keep you entertained. Just install the extension VS Code Pets, and once installed, click the Spawn Pet button, and from there you can select whichever pet you want. I like the dog, and don't worry, it won't eat your code. Enjoy this feature, just try not to get too distracted from your coding. See ya.
Cool. How many views did this one get?
Let's see. This one actually had my most viewed short, 619.
Okay, cool. Good job with the editing on that one. Let's look at your other video that you did.
And also to note that all these were posted at the same time. I mean, this like different days, but same time at 12 p.m.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. This is my second one.
Here's a shortcut for how to change directory to any file or folder with just 2 simple clicks. All you have to do is right-click the file or folder that you want to change directory to. Then select Open Integrated Terminal. And that's it. You're in the directory. Now you can avoid having to change directories over and over until you reach that file you're looking for. If you want to know what else I'm discovering, hit that subscribe button. See ya. Here's a
So folks, what you're seeing here is like someone that's like now been doing like videos for a few months. So he's gotten like really good with the editing. So really proud of him for that. That's a really good job. Like these 2 videos so far that he showed, one of the things that I told him was to create content that other people will want to see, that you found that's useful. So like this one right here was like a really good example, because when you're coding, several times you need to go to a particular directory into the terminal, and there's like a shortcut. It's a productivity tip to do that, and that's what he just showed. So I found that this one has like a lot of value. The first one was a cute one. That's one was more for like visual entertainment, because how many times you see like an editor with pets in it?
Yeah.
But VS Code is really cool with these extensions. And if you haven't heard of VS Code and you're new to coding, it's a code editor, but you'll kind of pick up on some of our terminology while we talk about it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop comments with your questions, and then Nathan will answer it. So like the first one doesn't really provide like too much like coding value, but in terms of just like fun, some people, it'll get like a lot of views because people aren't used to seeing that, and it's nice to have fun while you're working. So I guess like the value is more on the fun side. So I still think it's a good video, and it's nice to switch things up like that on your platform. His goal, like at the end of this boot camp, is to help build his brand, and that will help separate him from other software engineers. You know, if you're going to hire someone and you had like an engineer that, all things being equal, they both had the same skill sets, but one of them has a brand and like all this content out and like followers, and they know how to present themselves well, like in the public, you'll probably, I could see a company like going more with that person than someone who just codes. You know what I mean? So that's the main reason. So
Yeah.
like those two are great so far.
And also, well, I also want to throw in that I did mention that I'm new to coding, but I'm also very new to editing. I never had a YouTube channel before. I've never made videos before. I just, record on my phone. So this is this is just showing like, when you take the time to learn something, you can, get pretty far with it. So just wanted to, yeah.
Strong point. Your third video, let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
It can be so frustrating when you have multiple files and folders open in a project and need to manually close each one using all those arrows. Well, to reduce all this clutter, all you have to do is click the Collapse Folders in Explorer button. And this minimizes all expanded folders in the Explorer view, showing only the top level folders. I wish I knew this sooner. If you want to know what else I'm discovering, hit that subscribe button. See ya. It can be so frustrating.
Cool. So how did you come up with the idea for this one? Is this something you discovered on your own, or you saw another video similar to this and then you did your own version?
I saw a similar video to this, and I've also seen it in when I've been working on code, what that button is, and then I saw a video, I was like, oh, that's what it's for. I'm like, well, that's pretty useful, so I want to make a video on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I hardly use that feature. I think I might have known it was there. I'm not even sure, but yeah, I could see that being very useful to some people. This one's a hit and miss for me. I'm not sure how often do you come across where you need to like close all of those. But I don't know. I guess we could see. Let's pull up the YouTube analytics, because there is something that I want to start talking to you about that we haven't spoken about before.
Should we click on a specific video?
So just click on the left side, analytics right there. Yeah. Okay, so in order to be monetized on YouTube, do you know what like the requirements are? There's two core ones.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I just looked at them today because sometimes they might change it, and I wasn't sure if it was still the same. It is, you have to have, I believe, 6,000 watch hours within 12 months, within a year, and you need to have at least 1,000 subscribers. We could probably even ask chat, what's the requirement for YouTube monetization? Sorry, it's 4,000 watch time and then 1,000 subscribers. So to look to see how much, so right now it's showing how much watch time you have within 28 days. If you want to check the past 90 days, so you have 29 watch time. And if you look at the past year, so it's 41. But we've also just started doing the these videos, and we've been doing mostly shorts. So this is kind of like what you want to like start checking in every week. So just by little, see, like for example, the past 7 days, how much watch time did my videos get? Okay, it got 6. Next week, try to raise that to make sure that it gets more.
I see.
This is also when it's good to experiment. Like we'll see like how this affects it, because this is like a longer stream, and if people are hanging in there to see what the whole consultation went like, that's going to help a lot. But also depends like if how many people are watching it.
I see.
And also for just regular longer videos, if you're doing like a 5-minute video, that's obviously going to add more watch time than a short. So maybe one week you could try to do 2 long videos and then see how much watch time you got versus when you did 3 shorts.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you'll definitely want to like keep those numbers, and then, like just set little targets for yourself. But now you know the target that you want to get. You want to get to 4,000. It sounds like a lot, but it only takes, you could just have one banger video and then boom, it gets you up there to the 4,000.
I see.
And then as long as if you get yourself to a point where you're getting at least 20 subscribers a week with a solid video, with several solid videos, 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 80 a month, and then times 12. Alexa, what's 80 times 12?
80 times 12 is 960.
That's 960. So 90. If you try to get like 90 a month,
Yeah.
then you'll hit that within a year. So it's the first time we're actually talking about like the analytics and details there. But when I had you like study about like analytics on your own, did they talk about watch time or like the requirements for monetization?
They did talk about like the subscribers and a little bit of the watch time, but it was more specifically about like a specific video analytic, not really
All of them?
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of go a little bit, but I was more focused on like what to look at once you make a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to like note those numbers down and then write down what your target is for each week and try to get there.
Okay.
So 90 a month, so 90, 45, 20. So honestly, like if you got 25 subscribers a month, and then divide 40 by 12, and that'll tell you how many subscribers how many not subscribers but hours of watch time that you want to get for a 12-month period. So okay, cool. So let's go to the spreadsheet, and when we last spoke, there were a couple of things that we wanted to make sure that you got done. We wanted to have you publish a basic, simple page on GitHub, GitHub pages, and then one with your own domain. So I know you showed me with GitHub pages, you did that. How did it go with putting it on a domain site? Did you find one and did you put it up?
Well, I did find a couple, but the issue I was having is that they didn't have numbers that I could call, like phone numbers. And then I tried to go the route where you email, but it was asking for like business emails. So that's what kind of wanted to talk about today, was trying to figure out that, because I was a little bit lost. So I started doing research of like, how does everything kind of work on my own? But what I did do for this week is I updated a lot with what I have on my personal portfolio.
You mean on the GitHub pages?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at that.
Okay.
And while you bring that up, I'll just tell the folks what we're looking at. So as Nathan's going through the boot camp, I asked him to start publishing, getting used to publishing the actual projects that he's making online. And to do that, I wanted him to register with the domain and figure out how to actually go through that process to put his content online. And that's what he's figuring out, because there's a few different moving pieces. So he's going to have some questions about that. But he did put like a basic page on GitHub pages, and that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
Okay, this looks nice to them already. Like to them, it's gonna look blank, but they didn't see how it was before. It was just literally just your name.
HTML, yeah. So.
Okay, cool. So let's see what happens when we press on any of the links.
So for this week, I want to make it look nicer, and also just to have my resume on there. Nothing happened when I click home skills. I haven't gone to that yet, but I do have my resume button. So I click my resume and it pops up.
Okay, cool.
And then I also had like a little feature. If you can see up here, has a picture of myself up there.
Okay.
And as well, if I reduce this, it kind of,
yeah, it adjusts automatically.
yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, every web page that we have, we always want to make sure that it's dynamic like that, so it adjusts according to the screen size. There's actually a term for that, and it's like eluding me right now, a technical term for that, but it'll come to me in a little bit. All right, cool. Good job. But you have some questions now regarding the domains, right?
Yeah.
So,
for example, these are the 4 I was looking at.
hold on, let me try to turn on the light because it's getting dark in here. Alexa, turn fan on. Alexa, fan 100%. Okay, that's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. All right, so so these are the 4 that I found. I did some research on asking like ChatGPT, looking at YouTube videos, and these 4 are the ones that I seen that would work with what I'm looking for. Netlify mostly just works with just the MERS stack, but not .NET projects.
Okay.
And then some of these offer where you could just host it for free for like a free trial. But when I tried to, like for example, contact sales, and I would try to fill this out, I would ask for like I don't know if this was for a business, something with business related, so it wasn't letting me just ask.
But did you fill it out to contact the sales team?
Yeah, but then I was having some errors like the.
So you weren't even able to submit this?
Yeah.
What happened? Okay, let's just do it right now.
Yeah, so let's say my name. And then company. This is like one that didn't let me. Even if I just tried putting like my name, like.
It's not letting you type anything?
When I submit it, for example, let's see here. So here I was just putting other.
Okay. So I haven't heard of this company. Is this they provide like domain service, like
Yeah.
hosting services?
Yeah, I heard
Okay.
it was a good recommended one.
Okay. What is your total monthly spend on cloud infrastructure? All right, click that. What does it say? 0 through the first. What is your time frame of deployment?
I just put like within the 4 weeks.
Okay. No, put ASAP.
And here I just put like
What is the biggest challenge you are trying to solve with this project? That's odd. It's
and I have the same problem, for example, like
well,
Netlify.
but let's go back. Let's finish that off. Put down. What did you put down last time?
I put I just put like trying to create build a
Okay, so let's erase that. Just put requesting hosting services. Please contact me ASAP. ASAP. Talk to expert.
Oh.
That didn't happen before?
I was getting the error with the business name,
Okay, so let's look at the other one.
and this is another one. This one I found because I was actually watching some other people build their own personal portfolio, and a lot of people were using Netlify, and yeah, I was having the same with this one, like contact company.
Now, before even doing contact again, so with the sign up, where does the sign up lead bring you? Because when I think of sign up, I'm thinking of like that's where. Is that just so that you have a profile?
Yeah, I think so.
Then try to sign up with one of these. Do your GitHub. Just brought you to your GitHub. It didn't.
Just like that. This is my this is my GitHub right here.
That's weird. But it's supposed to help you sign up. Okay, back up. Back up again. Here, hold on. Oh, okay. Applify, Netlify.
So maybe I could pull what I have on my
Add registered domain. Interesting. So like what I would do is I would try to look to see if there's someone stepping through the process of signing up for this. Because it looks like that brings you to a UI where you have to like configure it to use them with your GitHub. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Um,
I think Railway was the same. You could connect to your GitHub and you could just post it for free, but
Interesting. So it's kind of savvy. Like I haven't done this before, not like with using these, but that's what I would do. I would look to see what are the steps, or like on YouTube when I say I would look.
yeah.
But remember what I told you about, like when you're networking, if you could connect with someone that said that they did it, you could try to reach out to them also.
Yeah.
So you tried to fill this out and it wouldn't let you go through?
Yeah, I think this is the one that
You want to go ahead and try it again?
let's try it. Just put my name again.
And by the way, I think we talked about having your own email.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I do have my own.
Yeah, you
email.
don't want to give your. So, folks, like what you're seeing here is like the process of figuring out how to get code online. It needs to be hosted somewhere, right? So you need to understand how to do this because, like, by the end of the boot camp, he should be familiar with like different hosting options. If a client comes to him and they ask him to build a website, and then he's going to publish it, put it online, he needs to be able to tell them like different options that are available, what it'll cost. So he's learning this process right now. So in case you're wondering, where's the code? How come we're not talking? Because right now the focus is on domain and like you've just basically jumped into the middle of like our boot camp, and he's learning now about domains and how to sign up for one before he could publish his code. Okay.
Should I just put same thing like that?
Yeah. Need hosting support? Please contact me at your early. Please contact me soon. I think sometimes ASAP might sound a little rude, like contact me now, ASAP, drop everything.
All right.
It's 8 o'clock.
Guess I don't know what problem I was having with last time.
That's the way it is. It's like when you're alone, it doesn't work. Then someone walks in, and all of a sudden it's there. Okay. And was there another site that you tried and you're having issues with also?
There was these two. Azure. I didn't hear too much. When I was doing YouTube research on YouTube, I didn't hear too much of like Azure come up compared to these other ones.
So did you YouTube how to use Azure for hosting or use some other type of terms to see what you need to do here?
Well, what I did was just kind of search up like what are like the best hosting sites to deploy like a personal portfolio, and then I kind of just went off based off of those. I just kind of left this one open because it's something that ChatGPT recommended.
But you didn't look to see the price and how to actually do it?
I did look at the pricing for them, but I didn't see exactly how, because I was just kind of stuck on the fact of trying to contact someone.
I think you're kind of like, you're letting your nerves stop you from moving forward, because just because you had like issues with the other two pages, you still have this. ChatGPT suggested that you could use Azure for hosting. Now your next step is to say how, right?
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you could get the answer of how? What are the resources that are available?
YouTube, ChatGPT, Google. Just searching up how do I host a personal portfolio website using
Host a website. You don't need to say personal portfolio. That's
this hosting.
It's extra words, right? So open up YouTube right now and see if that helps. We'll try a few of them, but you need to just not let yourself, because this is an important thing to get to know and figure out, and you don't want to keep pushing it week after week and let this distract you from other stuff,
Yeah.
So just type in a key. What do you think you should type in before I tell you?
How to host website using Azure.
Okay. What if you did fewer words so that it's more likely to come up? Go back to YouTube. Just hosting
Azure
with hosting website with Azure. Try that.
Good job.
Host a website on Azure tutorial.
Okay, I'm
That
Tiffany
seems
Hall.
pretty
I
on
used to
point.
be-
Let's see how good the video
Hey,
is.
what's up guys? Today I'm going to be running you through how to set up a static website using Azure storage accounts. Now I've already got a basic HTML file right here. All it has is just, a title, a couple of headings, and I've imported the Bootstrap CDN for its CSS, so its style sheets for Bootstrap. On top of that, I've also got a small index.js file which I've created, and this is just to highlight sort of the limitations of the storage account, and you'll see in a second. But basically all I'm doing here is just making a call to a public API.
Okay, he's
You'll see
explaining
that
the
in a second,
website.
but first, storage account, I think. Just from here you can go storage account, I think. And we can just go create. Now we pretty much can leave all the defaults the same, just make sure you've got an active subscription and just pick whatever resource group you want to assign this to, or you can create a new one just to encapsulate the video in this tutorial. You can call your storage account whatever you want, so I'll just say my...
Now for me, like I haven't used this, for hosting, creating a storage account. I don't know if that's the term for, if it's still, I'm assuming it's going to be related to hosting, but this is where you could either now ask ChatGPT, what does it mean by a storage account, or just finish watching the video and see. Let's see if he's even doing what we want, which, I mean, it says how to host a website on Azure tutorial.
And pick the region closest to you. And the rest we can basically leave the same. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff here. Access tier is hot, that's fine. And making sure that the endpoints are public for all networks for today's purpose. Anyways, so just review and create, let it validate first. Once that comes back, create it. Alright, and that's going to take a second to deploy. Sweet, so once the deployment is complete, go to your resource and just scroll down, and all we need to do is go to the static website section right here. So
Static
click on that,
website.
and we'll enable this, and the index document name, so this is the entry point for the website. And then
So remember how you have to create an index file on your
Yeah.
website? Okay, so he's saying, you have to indicate some starting point.
So like
error.
that's gonna show what you have on your website.
Well, this is just telling so this is a static website. So this is just like a website that's just going to have, it's not going to be too interactive, okay? So meaning I don't think with this you could like have the database if it's saying it's static. But at least you're like learning just how to use Azure to publish something on there.
Yeah.
And this is just saying, what's the first page I should show? And usually by default, a convention is that it's index.html or index.htm, okay? And if anything goes wrong, you have to indicate an error page. It's saying, hey, if there's anything goes wrong, what error page should I show? And he's indicating like the error page.
I see.
Okay. But like if you don't have an error page, then you might need to create one. I don't know if it'll let you not put one in, but you learn through these steps.
I
You
see.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
okay, so there's an error. I'll just save this away.
Also, this guy is going like really fast, so this is okay to like slow down and try to make sure you understand everything. But right now, I'm just going to kind of like skip through, just making sure it's on the right path, and at the end to see if he actually put up his page. But he showed us the web page. He showed us the code in the beginning, right?
It's that endpoint to actually access the website. So before we actually go there though, let's just go up to containers. And you'll see here it's now generated two containers for us, so one for the web files and then one for the logs. And we want to just add some stuff to the web container.
So he's talking about containers. What does he mean by containers? You'll need to learn
So
that.
we'll just upload here, and I'm just going to select those two files that I already have. So the index.html and the
See.
index.js.
Now it looks more real. He's pointing to the websites, right?
Yeah.
I'll put them both in, and I'll upload that. So before I actually go to the website now hosted by Azure Storage, I just want to show you something first. So this is the website here. running locally for me. So I've got it running on local server at the moment. So I'll just close this off and I'll start it back up again. So this is what the website currently looks like, right? It's just a basic header. This is hosted on Azure Storage. The weather in London at the moment is, and then the degrees is captured from the API. And then this click me alert. Now, so this is all working fine on my PC. It's working locally.
So you see, so that's his basic website, and it's running locally. I don't know how he executed it to run, but that's what you might have to do that, because like right now your website, I don't think you could just play it and it runs, right? Like you could preview it, the code that you have.
Yeah.
It's not like remember that React site that you made, and then you could use a command in the terminal to get it to start.
I see. Yeah.
For your basic portfolio website, it's not like that, right?
No.
But he did something in order to, because you could essentially do the same thing. So you have to figure out, how do I make my site run? Because I think that might be a requirement. It might. Or it might not, and you could just upload it to Azure and then it'll run. But
Yeah.
again, that's stuff to figure out. But so far, it looks like we're on the right track.
Yeah.
You have a website, and then he's showing you how to get it up.
Server.
Okay.
But now if we actually go to the storage, so now if I go back to my endpoint that I have, I just copy this over. If I just copy this and then paste it in, you can see now that the API data isn't being called. And that's because Azure Storage cannot handle dynamic data. So it can only handle static content, right? So all the stuff that we've loaded there is fine for it to use. It can handle that, but as soon as we try to request data from an external web server, it's gonna basically fall over. But this function here will still work on the Azure Storage. So if I click this, that still works because that's not pulling external information from another web server. Whereas the weather data is. So that is just something I want to highlight. Otherwise, guys, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty quick example. I guess the use case for this, if you're wondering, would be if you are hosting static stuff, which is basically things that aren't going to change very often. And that might be things like documentation. This could be things like a personal resume, personal portfolio, things like that, where you don't need to extract information from other sources, basically. And doing it this way, if you only have static content, is a much more cost-effective way than actually running a full-blown web server. Anyways, guys, I hope this demo was useful to you. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Let's like it. That's actually good information. So essentially, this is similar to what?
GitHub pages. Because
Okay.
it can't hold like a whole website.
It can't host a site that's requesting data from another service.
I see.
Okay. But you have to do steps like that. Just we hit it right on YouTube. Didn't even ask chat. Didn't even go to Google. But so for this upcoming week, do that. I mean, like right now, you want to have a hosting service that's going to be able to handle data, but this is where time management comes into play. Like, you already did GitHub pages, that's doing non-static. You got to ask yourself, so do I want to go this route and spend time doing with Azure that's also static? Or if I'm going to do it with Azure, I want to make sure I do it where it can handle data. I would think that you should try to see which Azure service can handle data. Because that's probably when it's going to cost something, because it's being able to like interact with like a database, and you want to find like the most affordable way.
Yeah.
But set a time point to cut off so that you're not eating up all your other time that you need to spend on coding and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's all I have to say about that, because it sounds like you need to just move forward. Try to have your website up under your domain with a hosting plan where it will interact with the database. So worst case, at the very least, if you're not finding one that does both MERN and Azure, at least just do one with MERN,
Yeah.
and then we could do the Azure one. I mean, yeah, you could do the one that handles .NET
Like separate.
later. Figure that out later.
Yeah, because I know right now I could do Netlify right now with what I have with for MERN stack.
Okay, but then do you know how to do that?
There's a tutorial that I found that shows you how.
Did you start looking at the tutorial and start trying it?
I didn't, just because I wasn't sure to do it separately or trying to just keep it together.
And was it free, or was it like pretty cheap?
Yeah, I believe it was free or cheap.
Then if it's free, then it's not at any loss. I could understand if it's asking you to pay like $50 or something, and then it's like, well, why am I going to spend the money on that? And then it's only doing one, because I might want to save my money to pay for one that handles both. You know what I mean?
I see.
But if it's free, then there's no reason why not to start at least. So I would say this week, try to get that MERN stack up with that free one.
Okay.
So it's under your name, because you bought your domain already.
Yeah.
And so then try to get that
And
up.
so let's say if I end up going the route where I just have it on two different hosting sites, does that mean I have to have two different domain names?
No, well,
Or that's something I
no,
just have to
I don't think so. You'll have to check it out. You'll have to like double check. But I think once you have your domain name, your domain name, that's just like a license plate. So that's not the hosting.
Yeah.
You'll have to talk. You'll have to talk
I could probably even
with
ask.
them.
Yeah, I could probably ask like even where I got the domain name from. Maybe they could also answer that for me.
Yeah, because if you go with the hosting plan for the MERN, stack, when it comes time to do your .NET project, my guess is, yeah, you might need a separate hosting plan for the .NET, but whether or not you could put it under your name, I think so with the subdomain. Wherever you bought the name, ask them, tell them your scenario. You'll want to say, okay, I bought my name from you guys, and I need to create two types of websites, one using the MERN stack and another using .NET. I'm going to go with the hosting plan that only handles the MERN stack. If I choose a separate domain, another hosting plan that handles .NET, can it still be under this domain that I purchased, like with a subdomain? Do you guys handle that? Like, for example, .NET spelled like DOTNET Nathan Aguilar .NET, which is .dev.
Yeah.
Can I do that? So you'll have to have a discussion with them.
I see.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe they might know somewhere where I could actually host it, you know? Both.
Yeah. But either way, this is good dialogue, and you need to get comfortable trying to. I'm surprised that like some of these. I think like maybe if they're not charging much, then maybe they don't have like the money to have like a support, like a call center. Maybe that's why,
Yeah.
and that's why it's by email. So then that's the kind of like, going that route. But then again, this is no different than when you're coding and you have to troubleshoot to figure out how to solve a problem. Except this one is more of a product-based problem.
I see.
You need to, what you want to get done. You need to find out the steps to do it, and then find out what's the most efficient way.
Yeah.
It's part of your job.
Yeah. Knowing how to research.
Yeah. So what's your goal for this week, this upcoming week, in relation to this website?
Well, at least to have my website hosted on, at least for MERNStack, and to call where I got the domain name from and ask them if I could have it all under one domain name, if I'm going to have 2 domain names, and just doing more research of YouTube videos of how each one works or how to get a website up.
Yeah. Talk to support to figure out how you could host a MERN stack project and a .NET project, and how many subdomains you need. So that's what you want to find out and execute that, so that next week you could be like, all right, I put my resume on MERNStack, and we could put in your URL in the browser, and it brings you there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like once you do that, then it's like you start having the foundation of like how to actually put your actual code that you've been working on out there in public. There's no point in like knowing how to code and then you don't know how to put it out there.
Yeah.
Unless you get someone else to put it out there, which is really how it works in the real world anyway for big companies. But if someone's hiring you personally to do something, then you need to know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So any other questions regarding this before we change topics?
No, I think that kind of covers it.
Okay. So something that I had brought up a few weeks ago was regarding your notes, the notes that you take when you're studying and coding and all that. I was saying you should consider trying to put that in your blog, because we did bring up blogs.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I didn't bring that up last week, but where's that at? Or did you just did you ever publish your first blog?
The first one's published, and I haven't got back to it. I just literally just published it, and then...
Okay, bring it up.
So this is my first one.
All right, cool.
Got one...
You got one class?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I really would like this week for your notes. Can you bring up like some of the notes that you had for this, for the work you're doing this week?
Well, this is the one for the interview questions. I could do... This is notes for the course.
Okay. So what I would do is instead this week of putting your notes in the Word document, put it in the blog. And in the blog, you could just have like an intro. Hey guys, I am going through a boot camp right now, and I just want to share you how some of the notes that I took with what I'm learning, and then essentially whatever you would have had there, it'd be there. And maybe you could put like little side note. This was a little confusing to learn, but I was able to, like, for example, you have like building a console app. Maybe right before that, you could say, I haven't built a console app before. I wasn't even sure what a console app is, but now I understand that blah, blah, blah. I don't know, whatever you think the outcome is after you've done it. And here are my notes that you might find useful if you're learning about console apps. What is a console app? And then just copy and paste and format it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it could just be simple, like this week I'm learning about .NET and C#.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you some notes some things that I've learned. These are my notes that I've.
Yeah, and then so you could have like an intro. You could have the notes, and then at the end maybe like a conclusion. You know what I mean? Or you could have like maybe some insights in between each. But if you want to keep it simple, maybe just do the intro, your notes, and then at the end that. Okay, so then this way, if you need to look at your notes again, you come to Medium.
I see.
All right, so we're killing two birds with one stone. We're getting your stuff out there, your notes, and it's also probably going to force you to make sure that your notes are written nicely. This time it's written nicely. I remember sometimes in the beginning it wasn't too organized.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But this actually looks pretty good. And you have it formatted like this on Medium, then that's going to be cool. And then at the end you could say, are there questions? Are there insights that you want to share based on this? Do you have any questions? You know what I mean? Leave a comment. You know, and then at least this way we're taking care of this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think after you do it once, twice, it'll be really fast.
Yeah.
Because then it's just you're adding the notes, you drop a couple of pictures, and then that's that.
Oh, shit.
You know.
Okay. That makes sense.
This is really important. Like, it seems like it might not be important, but the reason it's important is because it's like, oh, wow, he's actually, I could kind of see like how he's learning. And then like after you've done like several of these articles and you've gotten better at putting it together, you know, like an employer could like see your journey. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah, because to be honest, I was kind of putting it off the side because I feel like I'm not so good at writing. I was still like, I'm just thinking about also like the future. Like, how do I consistently keep up with like, you know, posting something every week if I'm not really a good writer? But I think that's a good point that you're saying. You could just simply just put your notes into a nice formatted way and just show what you learn in the week.
Right. And also this, what is .NET? That's formatted nice. You need to add a question mark, but okay, free cross-platform, open source. So these are like notes, okay? So you could copy and paste. You could ask ChatGPT to correct the grammar and then get the corrected version and put it in here.
I see.
So you already have. I wish I had ChatGPT when I was in school. I'd probably have honors or something in English. The teachers used to cross up my paragraphs with all these red ink. It's like, and they used red ink too. Like they were stabbing your paper, you know, cutting it up. You leave mentally scarred. I think a lot of schools, they don't let them do that nowadays. But using the red ink, I mean.
Yeah, I still did that when I was in school for sure.
They did that?
Cross words off with a big X. Like,
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah.
So don't let that. Let it correct it, and then see the corrections it made, and it's a learning process. You're learning in all these different ways.
Yeah.
So don't hold back. because you will eventually have to learn how to write. Like even me, like with all my years, like I told you about what happened at work. Because my manager, he's a better writer than me, and he was just like criticizing my work. But so it's better that you learn now. You know? So go ahead, put that on your to-do list also. So why don't we jot that down? The action items,
So I got one.
You got your hosting, publish website under your domain. That's one. And the other is publish notes on Medium. Okay, cool. Okay, so any other questions on this before we change topics?
No, but I do want to bring up whoever watches this, if you want to know more of my story of how I got here, I'll link this this post here, and it shows how I end up becoming a software engineer or an upcoming software engineer. So if you want to check it out, I really encourage just reading. It's a couple minute read. It's nothing long. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and like one other thing that I want to mention, and this is I kind of like learned this the hard way also. So like I had mentioned this a few weeks ago, right? And like the following weeks, I didn't mention it. And honestly, I kind of like forgot about it because like maybe I didn't have it in the schedule, but then I just remembered about it. In the real world, that's going to happen. Sometimes your manager might ask you for something, and then they don't follow up. Just because they didn't follow up, don't think that means it's okay that you don't do it. Sometimes maybe it's not important. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I've had situations where they ask me to do something, and then they don't bring it up again, and it just feels like it wasn't important, because I see them talking about stuff, and then they let it disappear into the ether, and then there's other stuff that they talk about, and they want to make sure that it gets done, and then it gives you the illusion that some stuff's more important than others just by their behavior. And then it turns out that my assumptions were wrong. Like it was like still important, but she just didn't bring it up. So that was her being like, all right, I can't see if that was her being a bad manager. Because either way, she mentioned it the first time, it was my job to get it done no matter what.
Yeah.
I can't make any assumptions just because she didn't bring it up again. You know what I mean? But what had happened was she brought it up, and she was like, where's this at? And I was thinking, yeah, I had other stuff I put ahead in the priority, and I just made those decisions on my own. And I kind of got like in trouble for that. So my point is, even if someone asks you something, so you could kind of think of me as like your manager. If I ask you something, just because I don't bring it up, that doesn't mean it's okay to like not do it. Because in the real world, they're not going to care that they didn't bring it up again to remind you. They're just going to be like, I asked you and you didn't. And then they could note that down in your evaluation. A crappy manager, and there's plenty of them out there, will like criticize you on the day when they're evaluating you, rather than meet up with you every few weeks just to see how things are going. And then if you have any concerns or questions, like, hey, by the way, the thing you brought up for me to do you need me to do that still? Or you need to be able to communicate that. Or if you have like any issues and you're stuck at something, you bring it up. So you squash any type of issues throughout your time while you're working up until the day that you get reviewed. Because review is usually once a year or twice a year. So if there's anything that the manager had concern about, they should have already known and brought it up to you, or you bring it up to them. It's a two-way thing.
I see.
And that I kind of wish I learned earlier also. Like, I know that now. And at my current job, we meet every week. So by the time there's my review, he hardly has anything negative to say, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep that in mind when they ask you stuff. You know, always assumes everything's super important. And if anything, you might want to ask, if they ask you to do several things, like which is more important, what do you want to get done first, so that you're both on the same page.
I see.
And then the worst type of managers are the ones that won't even tell you what they're upset about, because they're not good with confrontation, and then they just like don't give you the raise silently,
I see.
or they don't promote you, or they promote the person that's been doing everything, you know, and meeting up with them. You haven't met up with them, and then they just say, well, that's clearly a better employee, but they don't even try to help have you get improved.
Yeah.
Managers should help make it easier for you to improve also. They shouldn't just assume that you're going to be a star.
I see. I see what you mean by it being two ways, because if you have a manager like that, then maybe it's your part to also kind of step in and check in, like, hey, is everything good? Is there anything I missed? That
Yeah.
kind of makes sense.
Yeah. That's for any job,
Yeah,
even if it's not software engineering.
I see.
Yeah,
I remember you brought that up before, and I think some things I wasn't pretty good about back then is something like maybe you'll just send me a quick message about maybe like a link, and maybe I just didn't get to it because I was just like, oh, you're just sharing, I'll look at it later. But like, for example, today you sent me a video. I'm like, well, it just takes a couple of minutes out of my time. Why not? I should look into it, because you're setting some. If you're setting something, you're setting it for a reason. So
Yeah.
I looked at that video you sent me, and next you know, now I just have them all jotted down for places I could look to apply for jobs. So it's great.
Right, because actually I learned something from that video. See, I was telling you, like, when you're job searching, you know, there's different ways you go about it. There's different ways you should go about it, but one of the easiest things to do is to click that easy apply.
Yeah.
So for me, I've always thought that was a great feature, because I don't waste too much time filling out all these fields for every single job, especially if I want to apply to like 100 jobs. However, in that video, like the recruiter was saying, that easy apply, there's so many people that do it
Yeah.
that a lot of it is just ignored.
Yeah.
And so therefore you would want to try to take the routes that not many people are going, so that it increases the chances for your visibility for your resume. I was just like,
But
I didn't think about that,
Yeah.
you know. So this is a good video, you know. So then I send that to you.
yeah, I feel like it does have some good points, because even with me, the jobs that I've applied to have mostly been the ones that are easy to apply. So I felt like I fell into that habit, and then that video kind of was like, you know what, you should try to put more work into it, because most people are not going to put more work into applying for a job. You
Right.
know, people tend to go for the easier route.
So, I mean, it's still good to do it. So I'm not saying not to do it, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying definitely don't let that be the only thing.
Or like the main.
Yeah. Especially now, a lot more people are trying to become a software engineer, so it's going to be a little bit more competitive. So you have to think out of the box,
Yeah.
you know, in your strategy. Okay, so any questions here before we switch topics to go to your curriculum?
No. Yeah, that's good for now.
Okay, so now let's go to your spreadsheet. You're working on the .NET course. Did you finish that?
That only got to halfway. It was taking me a little bit to kind of understand, and I just kind of got caught up with everything else.
Okay, well,
So I could show you what I've done, and maybe you could question me on the things that I've learned.
yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Because every week now I'm questioning you. I'm questioning him on every week. We're going through like
The .NET
simulated interview rounds because it's something that's really important. No matter how good of a coder you are, if you can't answer questions well during an interview, then they're going to pass on you. So which parts did you get up to?
So I got just up to this is all I've done right here. So I guess the introduction doesn't really count, but
What do you mean? Like you did chapter 1 and 2 and 3?
no, just 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, I see the green checks.
yeah.
All right, so then I'm gonna ask some questions. Did you study this time?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna ask you these, right?
Yeah.
What's string interpolation?
String interpolation. This is just an easy way of inserting data into a string in a easier format. I feel like that's pretty much what it is.
Repeat that again. What's string interpolation?
String interpolation. This is a easy way to insert data into a string. It's just an easier way to read it.
What's an example?
An example is, for example, if you have, let's say you have a variable like variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, instead of writing each one following it with the variable all in one string, you could just insert like a syntax or a dollar symbol before the string and just put in simple like data 1, data 2, data 3.
Okay.
I guess maybe it would be easier to kind of just show or write down.
Right. No, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. So a cool interviewer will try to make sure, will see that you're struggling to explain it, but they're trying to see if you actually do understand through the struggle. So it does sound like you know what it is. And what I would do is, if you know that you're going to ask yourself the questions, because you already know the type of questions I'm going to ask you. I already gave you a hint saying that I'm going to go off the table of contents.
Yeah.
So ask yourself the question, listen to yourself answer it first. Pretend that you're going to be like in a spelling bee in front of a crowd and you're answering it. So keep it concise. Write out your answer, keep it concise, and then be ready to give an example. So to know how to answer what it is, and then give an example. When I asked the ChatGPT what string interpolation is, it says string interpolation is a method of embedding variables or expressions within a string. So like if you said something like that and then gave the example, that would be good. But this right here sounds too definition-y. So I would try to word it where it's more like in English, like if you're explaining it to your girlfriend or to someone so that they could understand. Because then when you explain it like that, where it's more for like the common person to an interviewer, then they know that you truly understood it and that you didn't just memorize a definition. Because you could still, because they'll try to ding you like that too. You could like memorize a definition and you answer it, and some of them will go, okay, he answered it, and be good. But then like the really good ones will be like, sounds like he just studied it, but didn't, then they'll ask you for like the example, and they'll be good. But if you could explain it so that anyone could understand it, then they're going to be really excited about that, because that means you could take complex topics and then verbalize it in a way that, like a potential higher up who doesn't code can understand what you're doing. And then they're going to have faith in like bringing you up to talk to other people other than developers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it's, at least when I'm learning this, what I write down is definitely in a way where I understand it, because I feel like if I just copy what ChatGPT says or what Google or says, I feel like I'm not gonna look back on it and read it and understand what it really means. So I feel like when I write my note down and I try to explain in my own words, I feel like it's better that way.
Yeah, but you have to be confident in your own words, because you said in your own words, but you're kind of like going all over the place. So let's do another one, okay?
And do you also feel like in a real interview, do you think it's good to just, like how you asked me, what is string interpolation? Do you think it's good to also give an example right off the bat after I explain what it is, or you think I should just kind of say what it is and then?
You have to play it by ear. You have to see where they're at, because sometimes they want to fire off several questions, and if it looks like that they want more, you could say, "You want an example?"
I see.
Yeah. What is .NET?
.NET is a framework that is developed by Microsoft. It's used to build and develop applications.
What's a console application?
Well, I know when building a console application, that is building a application that uses the terminal or the command line interface to be able, or to allow it to have input text and output text that like a user can use in the UI.
So the short answer is a console application. It's a program designed to run in a text-based interface, typically within a command line or terminal environment. So, like, if I were to read this and like rewrite it from my own word, I'd be like, that's an application that's designed to be able to be run from a terminal. And then I would try to think of like an example.
Okay.
I know from experience, like an example could be like a batch file, like something like once your computer starts, you could make it start automatic run, and it runs in the background, but it's like it was built to run from the console.
Okay. I see.
So I would revisit that and make it more concise.
All right.
Even I had to like look it up just to, because like I know what it is, but then it's like, what are the key words to really solidify exactly the essence of it? Yeah. And the essence of it is that it's built to run from a terminal. When I think of console application, I'm thinking of like the black UI, the terminal, and it's an executable. It's just like runs, but the essence of it is that it's built, from the terminal.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a UI.
Yeah, I
pretty
thought
UI.
that one was a little bit tricky to kind of explain. I feel like compared to the other ones, because I understand when we're building a console application, I understand kind of what he's doing, but it was a little tricky to explain like the overall. Like,
Well, so the super answer is like it's. You could even say like it's an application that doesn't have a UI. You see, because look at how it says it. It says a application that's designed to run from the terminal rather than a graphical user interface, rather than a GUI, rather than this. This is a GUI.
yeah,
You see, so this website is running, right? So that you could watch your videos and you can click on these links, right?
yeah,
But the console doesn't do any of that. You know, like you could like press play here to play your video. If it was a console application, you would actually have to type in your command and type in some parameters like play like .NET run and then the name of your video player. .NET run, if you made a video player called Nathan's Video Player, .NET run Nathan's Video Player / and then put into parameter the name of the video, open quote, name of the video, close quote, hit enter. You see?
yeah. It's not.
And then execute. And then the video starts playing.
yeah,
But you didn't use the UI. You did it from the command line.
I see.
And that program that brought it up, that was the console app. It just ran from the console, you know.
That makes more sense.
So again, it sounds like you like looked at these and kind of studied, but you didn't look using several resources. Because I know if you looked at several resources, asking yourself, what is a console app? And then what's an example? It would have been easier for you to like shorten your answer.
Yeah,
So I know I've mentioned that several times, but don't just look at one definition and go by that. Look at several so that it's extra clear. And then ask yourself, what's an example? So basic .NET data types. Can you name me some? What is a basic .NET data type?
basic .NET data types. These are used to store various different types of data. For example, like integers. You can use int for integers, or booleans, or strings. It's like a whole list of them.
Cool. So you're answering it and you're giving me examples. So that's good. That's how you should be answering all your interview questions. That's an A right there. I could even ask chat. And this right here will transfer to all other languages also. Almost 4th of July. Luckily we're seeing the fireworks, otherwise someone's getting in trouble.
Yeah.
But like the data types that are here, you'll find them in other languages too, like Java, Python. So, and usually the rules are pretty much the same. An integer in C# is usually the same as an integer in Java. You know, it's for a number, and then decimals, that's a different data type, and you know. There's slight little variations, you know, but once you start understanding just the concept of data types, it's important because when you code, you need to know how to save your variables efficiently.
Let me see.
If you try to put everything into a string, it doesn't work like that because it's like, no, a string, like 54, you're saving the number 54 is like, or 32 is someone's age and you're saving it as a string. And then if you wanted to add 5 years to it, It's like you can't add one string plus another and do a mathematical computation.
Yeah.
If you try to add one string plus another, the computer will interpret it most likely to concatenate it.
Yeah.
54 plus 10 is equal to 5,410. 5410. It literally put those two strings together
Yeah.
rather than saying 64. If you define them as integers and variables and then you added them, then it's going to add it.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So it's important to do all that. Okay. So what were you going to ask?
Well, I was gonna say, when I research like some topics or something that I'm unclear, I usually tend to just be like basic or like string formatting. I'll search up string formatting, explain in C#. You think that's fine? That just specifying that I'm talking about C#, or do you feel like it's okay?
I think it's good to do both.
Let's see.
But essentially, it should be the same thing. It shouldn't be like
Giving you like a whole completely different answer.
no. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, and like when you're doing your blog, you could like mention that, like when you did the research to understand string interpolation and you finally got it, if there was something that you read that made you actually get it, write down. I was having a hard time understanding string interpolation until I saw this article right here, blah, which explained blah, blah, blah in just 3 sentences. And now I completely understand it and I feel completely confident to, answer the interview
okay.
question. You know what I mean?
Like, it's a good idea. Like, I could, like, how I'm gonna put my notes on there. I could just, maybe there's like one note that I wrote from this course I didn't understand. I could write, I didn't understand this note that I jotted down. I had to do some more research into it, and now I understand, and then I explain what it is. I see.
Yeah. And if there's something that you still didn't understand, don't not write the blog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. I didn't understand this definition, so I didn't finish it. You know what I mean? No, write down. I'm still having issues figuring this out. If you guys know a better way to explain it, let me know. But I'm going to do some more research and follow me for next week till I find out. You know what I mean? It's your journey. It's like your diary,
Okay. See.
Okay. What's garbage collection?
.NET garbage collection. This is a feature that automatically removes any unnecessary objects or objects that are not needed anymore. So garbage collection removes this automatically, and this is good because it lets you have more storage and more space, and this makes your program run more smoothly. So that's what the garbage collection is used for.
Really good. The official definition, going to this right here, they give me a big ass answer, but it's memory management. So it's nice that you use your own word, but if you could also kind of like include a key word, like if you were to read several sources for what garbage collection is, you'll probably see memory management brought up several times. And when you see an important word like that, then include that in your basic definition also.
Okay, I see.
You know?
Yeah, I remember I did see that word. When he first started explaining what it is, he first explained memory management, and then he said that garbage collection is that's part of what it is. That's a good point to say. I should have brought that word up.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's still Good definition. Okay, I think this week you did actually pretty good in answering the questions. Still rough
Yeah.
around the edges, but compared to like the previous week,
Well,
you know.
I was gonna say the one thing that you did recommend me was recording myself, and I feel like that helped.
Okay,
lot.
yeah, recording yourself to ask the question and then answering it, and then trying to listen to it and answer it before.
Yeah, because I first wrote all of these down, and with an answer, and then I recorded it, and some made some sound pretty clear, and then I went back to some like this doesn't really make sense to me when I listen to it, so I'd go back and modify it. But that helped to kind of save time. Even though I didn't finish the whole course, at least I looked it up in the beginning of the week, and I didn't start working on the course till later this week. But at least I was kind of already studying some, so that definitely helped. Especially when I was driving, like I said, I was driving. Even when I was showering today,
You're listening to
I
it?
was just listening to it.
Beautiful.
So that made me, that helped
Good.
a lot. Yeah, that helped a lot. So I'm gonna be doing that for the rest of the week. So at least this week, even though I didn't get to complete everything, it's for sure a better progress compared to my last 2 weeks. So it's getting there, and I feel like it's making me feel better. So by the time I'm kind of 100% on my own, you know, I should be definitely at a good routine of, you know, getting things done and how I learn as well.
Okay, good.
It's 9 o'clock.
I found a page that has like a tutorial, just a worded tutorial of creating like a CRUD app in .NET. I might send you a link to it just to look at it, not to steer you off because you got your stuff to do, but I think like maybe like later on towards the end, because it's a clean app that's CRUD app, just like how you did with your other React, except it's in .NET and it uses like some design patterns and stuff that you're gonna learn later on. So I was glad when I found out. I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna be perfect. Because I remember those steps actually helped me land a job once, because during the interview process they were going to ask me to code something, and then I had said, you know what, I could like create something on the fly for you right now. And I had prepared, like I like knew that if I could just build an app live for them that's demonstrating creating, reading, updating, deleting, then they should feel somewhat confident. So they were going to ask me to do something. I was just like, why don't I just code this for you? And then they're just like, okay, sure. And then what I did was I had like outlined the steps. I had outlined the steps to do the code, and I knew, and I had practiced, and I had also practiced by like making like a video, like how to do it. And so while I was like online with them, so they're on video with me, right?
Yeah.
And they're sharing my screen. On like my other screen, I had like my little outline, like bullet points with notes. And then I just like had it as like a reference point, just, you know, like I knew I had to like initialize like the database. I had to create like certain objects like in order, and then I'm talking through and they don't know that I've like done this before, but
They're like, this guy's killing it.
yeah. And it's so like, you know, something they were like satisfied, I think probably within 5 or 10 minutes, but I was going like 15 minutes into it, and they were trying to get me to stop, but like their mic was off or I wasn't hearing them. And then I eventually saw them, and then they was like, no, that's good enough. And then they just shifted the conversation to like offer, you know what I mean?
That's cool.
But if for each of any stack that you learn, if you can build a CRUD app which oftentimes they do ask you to build some type of CRUD app. They'll ask you to do, can you do a to-do list, or can you do this or whatever, just to demonstrate being able to create a database and then like reading and saving to it. Then you're usually pretty good to go. You know.
That's good to know.
Um,
So also, like, while you're doing this, you're explaining what you're doing?
yes. Yeah, of course. You
I
don't
see.
just code silently. You know what I
see.
mean? All right. Cool. So let's see. I think that should be.
Yes.
What about the interview questions? So did you come up with interview questions for this week?
I did. But to be honest, I didn't really get to study these.
Okay.
But I at least got to learn how to do some research, and
And pull some up.
yeah, like I kind of saved the links where I got it from. So I just kind of saved it so I could always go back and look here. Like this one was more .NET interview
Okay.
questions, and then I think this one was like C#. And I feel like this one has a bunch of them, so I could always look back at these, and there's a bunch. So that was really cool to kind of read through. And I did that at the beginning of the week.
Okay.
But I'm still not putting it off, even though I still did it. I feel like it's...
No, at least you
Yeah.
did that part. That's good, because
Yeah.
I need you to be comfortable starting to see these interview questions, and then by the end of like boot camp, they're not going to seem new. It's not going to be your first time answering questions.
Yeah.
Folks, what we talked about before was to, in addition to like writing like these projects, I wanted him each week to look up at least 20 interview questions based on the topics that he's studying. So he came up with 20 this week with the questions and answers. He didn't get to study them yet, but at least he has them. And following week, he'll do the same again. Ideally, we'll spend some time studying them. And what he was saying earlier was that the process of studying them, you don't have to be like in front of the computer just studying the questions and answers. You can record the questions just using your phone, and then answer the questions using your phone, and go to another question, ask it, answer it, and have a whole recording with all your 20 questions. And when you're driving or commuting, shopping, whatever, use that extra time to just like listen to it and try to answer it. You need to be able to like maximize it, because it's a lot. It's a lot. So you need to be very efficient how you maximize your time to study up.
Yeah.
I had also asked to look for any videos with interviews, so you could like that for you to like watch. Did you get to do that?
I did look, but I couldn't find any good ones. I know you said to make like a whole list for each week, but I feel like I couldn't really...
It was hard finding some actual interviews, huh?
Yeah, like I mean, I found some, but when I was watching them, I felt like it was not doing me as much good as I wanted it to be.
Because it wasn't like an actual like job interview question, or it was what?
Yeah, I feel like because of that, and also it's just really hard to find actual like
Live.
two people. I think what was more useful was just kind of like looking at, because I still wanted to just take some time and get to see how it's like for an interview to be like. So I just went back to that video you sent me in the past, the Google interview.
Okay.
So just at least to, get comfortable seeing how two people interact with each other, because I feel like that was a good one. So I kind of just fell back on that one.
You know what you could try to do is just look in general for live coding interviews or live software engineering interviews, and then see what questions they come up like that. Because if it's too specific, like for C#.NET, I can understand maybe you might not find that. But just in general, they might ask you might end up getting one that like that's for Python, right?
Yeah.
And so when they're asking the questions, a lot of times the type of questions they might ask, how do you do this? Even though it's for a Python, that same question could still be applied to .NET.
Is it kind of like something when you're talking about this? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
So like right now, let's let me demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. So go to YouTube and just type in software engineering interview. Interview. And let's see if we could just find some. There's one right there, mock interview. Okay, so even though it's not C#, but let's listen to the questions.
To get started in data analytics, you don't need previous experience or a degree. The Google Data Analytics Certificate. Are you ready to ace your next technical programming
Should I kinda
interview?
skip it?
In this video, Keith
Yeah.
Galley.
Welcome. Welcome to the interview. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We're going to probably just jump right into this interview. I'm just curious, are you familiar with CoderPad? Because that's what we're going to be using throughout. I think it might be easiest to kind of share code.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we're going to kind of just jump right into the problem. So for the purpose of this problem, and let me share, I just want to make sure you can access this coder link. So I'm going to share this, and I recommend maybe sharing your screen, or I guess we also can just work off of this. So I should be able to see what you typed in.
If I open the chat, I can click on this link and it'll take me to the coder pad. My name is Kylie and I will enter. And so I can see that you're in this coder pad as well, and then here I am.
Yep, and just to make sure that you're comfortable here, you want to just run like a couple simple lines of code. You can try just running this print hello world if you want.
Yeah, so if I run this, it'll say that I ran a line of Python, it prints out hello world. So I think it works.
Perfect. Okay, so let's kind of jump into the problem. So just to give you some context, we're going to start with about 20 minutes of design, object-oriented design, however you want to design this code. And then we'll spend probably the last 20 minutes.
I was gonna say, what type of interview would you say this is?
This is a live coding interview.
And
So meaning that you're both live in person, right? And then they're going to ask you to code stuff, different scenarios.
do you also know beforehand, like when you have these interviews, do they let you know, like, hey, it's gonna be this type of interview?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you have a good recruiter, then yeah, they should tell you, but it's okay for you to ask. I ask that all the time. So there's a few different types of interviews. There's the casual, non-technical interview, usually the recruiter, someone from HR. Either if it's a company that's hiring you directly and they're not using a third party, meaning like outsourcing a recruiter,
Yeah.
then they have like their own HR department that hires you. And that HR, usually they're not like too technically savvy. They'll ask you about like, how do you work with your colleague? Basically scanning your personality.
Okay.
Okay, you'll be very good there. The next interview, the next type of interview would be like a technical one. The technical ones can go a few different ways. It could just be they're asking you questions. Like it might not even be using a computer. They're just asking you, what's object-oriented design? What does solid stand for? What is polymorphism? Okay? And then you answer them. All right? You could be face-to-face or it could just be audio. But it's just question and answer, no coding. Then there's interviews like this where they'll say, let's hop on a computer together. And those are like the more nerve-wracking ones for me because I'm just like, I'm used to coding on my own, not like with someone like watching over me. But they ask you different scenarios, and we're going to see an example of this, which is why this is a good exercise for you to see this now.
I see.
So that when you're in a situation, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm not too scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they'll give you a scenario to do something, maybe demonstrate string interpolation, maybe demonstrate polymorphism. You know what I mean?
I see.
And then you'll have to think of like a couple of scenarios and then write it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like these would be like good to do, like if I was actually taking it, like if it was me, like let's say I'm pretending like I'm getting interviewed right now watching this video and I pause it, or maybe he press something out and I'm actually trying to do it,
You're saying this would be good for you to actually try to do it while you're watching this video?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's what I was trying to tell you before we even pull it up. I was saying look up any interview question. That's why we just did software engineering interview, and in whatever language it is, ask yourself, now let me do this in .NET,
I see.
in C#, or let me do this in JavaScript.
I think you also mentioned last week, like I could get someone, maybe I could go to like a meetup.com and maybe I could have someone interview me and I could practice that way too.
Yeah, you could, but I would say let's watch several of these. So then you have like a good, at least watch 10 software engineering ones. And then when you meet with someone, you could have a better gauge of how good they are at interviewing you, because they might not be that good.
I see.
You know what I mean, at interviewing you. So at least watch some of these videos so you could see like which ones are good interviews, which ones are kind of flaky, and then maybe you could even help guide and set up how you want to be interviewed. You know what I mean?
I see. I find that's also something good to maybe know later down the line is how to deal with someone who's not a good interview, or different type of interviews that you have probably dealt with, if that makes sense. Like if there's a bad interview, how do you work with that, Like that'd be interesting to kind of...
Yeah, you mean like if you have a bad interviewer, how to handle that situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. It's good to know because that could be interpreted different ways. You could have an asshole, right? And then you could just know not to let that bother you, and still how to like deal with them like the dog that they are, just respectfully though. You know what I mean? You could still give them their answer and not be weirded out, and then it gets all weird and stuff.
Yeah.
Or you could have someone that asks you a question, they're not really satisfied. Instead of them asking you to give you more, you could offer, do you want to hear an example, like I said earlier, or do you want to hear another example? Because you kind of sense that they're not fully satisfied. They should be good enough to ask you, but in case that they're not, because they suck, right? You, as a good candidate, could offer more and then hopefully satisfy them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
just comes with experience.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that's something, at least later down the line, to also know, I guess, how to deal with different personalities, I would say.
Right. And that's important to remember, that these are people and they're not perfect. Although it feels like if someone's interviewing, they should be good at interviewing, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have interviews that could just be straight questions and you answer without any code. Then you have interviews, you could have an interview where it's like this and you show the code and it's live, right?
Yeah.
Answering different scenarios, demonstrating different scenarios. Then there's a type of interviews that's like a take home. They give you a project to go and they give you like a day or two to just do the code and then you submit it to them. That's another form of interview.
And with that, like let's say you submit the project, and what happens after there? Like if they
like the code, then they follow up with you, and that's that. And if they don't, in an ideal world, they will tell you why it didn't pass. But most of them are jerks, and they'll just ghost you. Or they'll send the recruiter to be like, unfortunately, we had to go with another candidate, blah, blah, blah. So, and then the last type of interview that I could remember are the ones where it's pseudocode. So they might ask you to not necessarily code something, but to pseudocode, which means that you just sketch out, like, to demonstrate your ability to write out like several methods and explain how they're going to work. Almost like, I think, how that Google, I think they were doing pseudocode. So he's not writing all the code, but he's just in general writing like the names of the methods and saying, I'll have a class here, and I'll have an interface here, and then I'll create an object here based on this class, and I'm going to pass in these variables.
So
that's called whiteboarding.
Is that kind of pretty much like you're breaking down the code?
It's basically, instead of coding, just you're doing it by hand.
Okay.
But when you're doing it by hand, you don't need to write every single like period and semicolon and all that. They understand that it's by hand.
Okay.
It's just an outline. Not an outline, it's a draft. It's it's called pseudocode. It's like you write just enough so I can understand the code that you mean to explain the process.
That makes sense.
So you could probably like look up a video on whiteboarding and look into that more. But usually whiteboarding is more like if it's going to be in person. If it's remote, I don't think they'll ask you to. They might ask you to whiteboard, using some visual tool, but probably not.
And do most job interviews, is it like multiple interviews, like multiple stages?
It depends. I would say on average it's probably like 3 interviews. You have the recruiter, then you have like one technical person, and then maybe like a senior technical person, or sometimes it's the recruiter, and then like you'll have like 2 people from the team, or maybe 3. There's been times it's been like 4 people. You know what I mean?
I see.
And then there's jobs where, you go through like 8 interviews, but most of them, that's like Google level or whatever. But most of them, it's not usually more than 4 rounds. It's usually probably 2. Definitely not 1. I don't know if I've ever had where it's just 1 round. It's usually 2 to 4, but on average probably 3.
I see. And
not all on the same day.
With these multiple stages, is it usually like if you pass like the first one, is it usually like pretty fast? Getting the next one?
Yeah, it's pretty fast. It's not. It's rare that they make you wait a week because they're trying to like interview a bunch of people. So it's like the next day the next day or 2 that you do the next one.
Yeah.
Let's watch a little bit more of this so I could get my point across.
Working on more of an algorithms question, so that gives you just a little bit of scope.
Awesome.
You don't necessarily have to accomplish everything. I know that we have limited time, but to kind of give you the context of the problem, imagine that we're designing a book system, so an online cloud reading application, and you can pretty much imagine that we're building a product that is similar to an Amazon Kindle, but specifically for short stories. So we're kind of in our own niche. They might be indie stories. They might not be, found anywhere else. People could add their own stories. And basically what we want to do to start this problem off is that we need help designing the actual application. We need help designing the code that could implement an online cloud reading application. And there's a couple things that we're looking for, and this is very open-ended. You can implement this how you want, but a few things, and I'll paste these into the coder pad that we're looking for.
So she just
I
taking
need to
notes.
find the best way to learn math and science. It's brilliant.org. Whoop.
She's just putting them in comments.
I'll just paste it below. Okay. You can fix this up. and I'll delete that top line.
Okay, so a few things that you're looking for. Users have a library of books that they can add to or remove from. Users can set a book from their library as active. The reading application remembers where a user left off in a given book, and the reading application only displays a page of text at a time in the active book.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so what do you call this process here? This information that of him giving her what needs to get done, and she's what do you call this?
Object oriented design.
No. Well,
Is it kind of like
the interview is for object oriented, but like let's say this was not an interview. The process of getting this information that you need in order to do the code, because he's telling her what needs to get done for the program to be built, right?
Yeah.
What do you call that process?
Well, she's like gathering information
Mhm.
from the client
Right.
and just getting just the basic needs of what they must have in this application.
Right.
I know there's like a word that like
It's requirements gathering.
yeah.
Remember I talked to you about that?
Mhm.
So that's an example. It's just like at the very beginning, they need like this app that's to keep track of like this library, this reading application. Okay, and then there's like the details. But like in the real world, you want to like go back and forth and ask questions so you really crystally understand what they want the application to do. But he wrote down the requirements, the basic functionalities, and then now she's going to try to come up with a solution and describe, you know. But the process, this is gathering requirements, but this type of interview is to understand how she comes up with ideas to design the application. So object-oriented design is, I think, the term that he used.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is important because they see how she works like in a team, like how if they were to work in a project together.
No. This is just to see how her brain works to create that application that he wants.
I see. Like how she's gonna go about it.
Yeah.
I see.
However, my overall point is, even though this is for Python, it could have easily have been for C#. And in fact, I think like in Google, at Google, when you interview for them, they give you like questions like this, and they're like, you could do it in any language you want. We just care that you solve the problem. You know what I mean? Okay, so that was why I wanted you to watch this a little bit of this video to see that you could still get value from watching a video that even though it's not .NET or JavaScript, you could still understand that this is the same scenario that you could get for those stacks.
I see.
Let's watch just a little bit more.
So let's see. Essentially, what we want to do is create a library where users can interact with this library. They can look at a book and set it as active, and then this application will also just remember where they left off and display whatever page that they're currently looking at in the active book.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, and then more specifically, do you want me to kind of give like a high-level implementation, or how do you want me to start this?
So I really want to just think about, what components would be important. This is, I would say, an object-oriented design question. So I'm just thinking about how you would think about structuring, I guess, the base of a program like this. So obviously, we're not going to build this full application, but I'm really curious about how you're structuring that core structure, that core foundation.
Right, so let me make this smaller over on this end so people can see all of this. And let's type up some more notes. So The things that jump out to me are that you need to be able to remember all books. So if I type this, we need to have all books in the library, and we need to remember active book, and then we want to remember page.
Is she just
Remember
simplifying
page,
it, like
I
just
guess last
focusing
pages
on the main
in all
components?
books.
She's jotting down the
And
steps
then
of things that
we
need to
want
get
to,
done, and then later on going to
display.
describe how she's going to do it through code.
I see.
Okay. So
A page in active.
we could probably just
Okay,
skip
more-
just to see to the point where she
Okay.
starts talking
And,
about.
and you can implement
so-
the details of like the pages and all of that.
Kind of diving
Okay,
more
so now see, so you use objects, you use classes to create objects, and then so you'll have a class representing a book, and then remember the book could have like these properties like titles.
Into the
Remember how we were talking about objects like a person, you have eyes and right?
Yeah.
So title, pages, last pages, these are the important properties based on things that she knows that's going to have to get done with the book, you know? So I could let you like read that, but this is a really good one just to see, you know? And then really all these answers, no language is even specified yet, you know? But if she actually starts writing it out or starts coding some of it, then it's going to be in Python,
I see.
you know? But all this is still applicable no matter what language. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if you're doing this in .NET, it's not going to be any different. You know, the concept of a class is the same. The concept of an object is the same.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so that was my point. Like, you could just look in general for interviews just to get live people and hearing them, because it is too difficult to just find it just for .NET. Fine, but at least one, and then and learn from that. You know what I mean?
Do you think I could still, or do you think I should still look up a bunch of interview videos and have them here, and then maybe if I find a different one for that week, so I don't spend too much time?
Yeah. Try to find one live interview for each week. So that could be one for this week.
And for like this column, should I just focus on just live videos, or is there anything else that you recommend that I could?
No, this one is
Like, should I look
find
up?
online interviews on. Hold up. Watch and document one .NET and one MERN interview. Find online 20 interview questions.
Yeah, because the 20 interview questions are for whatever course I learned for that week.
Yeah, so this one, .NET, right? So
Or I can make like
we could just say,
I was gonna say, what if like every week I watch
a live.
a live video, and maybe I could alternate between .NET and MERN, and research some interview questions, just so I could prepare for, you know, just how I did the 20 view interview questions.
Yeah, I mean, you're already interviewing you're already pulling up questions here. That's fine.
Okay.
The purpose of this is for you to see human beings. So let me just be more clear here. Let's rewrite this, okay? Watch live interviews with humans, and basically apply them them to learn or .NET. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for this one, for this one that we just watch the whole thing and then just ask yourself, how would I answer this if this was a .NET interview?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like if they said, "Oh, what is string formatting in the interview?" Look it up. What it
Yeah.
would mean in .NET.
And then try to, like, if he asks her to do string formatting and then she's doing it in Python, see if you could like maybe do it in .NET. You know what I mean?
Do you think I can make like a quick note here of like the three or like the different interviews that you mentioned? So maybe I could like remember like which ones, or maybe I'll just.
That's notes to be in your Word doc or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't need to be in this column.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have this on the recording. You could
Yeah.
just write down 3 types of interviews that you could expect. You know, there's just a straight generic question answer with no coding. That's one. There's coding, live coding like that. That's 2. Then there's the third one is take home project. That's 3. And really that's it. I mentioned the pseudocoding. That's not like a type of interview, but you know, when they're interviewing you, they could ask you to whiteboard something. So you could say that's the 4th type of interview.
But you don't
it's
think
not,
it's as common?
I haven't been asked to do that often.
I see.
One time I didn't do well. I wasn't used to doing it because I rarely get asked to do that. And I was asked to draw some fucking databases. I was like, fuck.
Maybe just on the Google video that I had is probably good enough.
Yeah, just know that it exists. So like what would be good is if you're asked to, like if you could look up, maybe you could YouTube whiteboarding interviews and look up several of them and then see if you could get comfortable whiteboarding some concepts. But I wouldn't spend too much time on it because I don't think, from my experience, it doesn't come up too often, but it is a possibility in case you do need to. I think it's more important to know how to code something that they ask you. It's more important to ask questions when they ask you a scenario, when they tell you a scenario like you're building this type of application, it needs to remember the book, it needs to be able to do this and that, whatever, and then you go back and forth to crystallize what the core requirements are and then translate that into like, how do I do this in code?
Yeah.
Like how she's about to do.
I see, that makes sense.
That's more important.
So it's showing you how you could communicate and explain code, but as well it's helping you break down your solution.
You mean this exercise?
Like the code, like, because you said you mentioned that it's good to ask questions and have back and forth.
Right, because you want to make sure, you don't want to just listen to the guy and then you start coding and assume that you know everything is exactly as he said.
I see.
You want to repeat, you want to ask questions. She asked, like, how do you want me to start? You know what I mean?
I see.
You got to go back and forth. It's a dance.
I see.
So the purpose is, when you're watching like a live interview like this, is to get comfortable with different types of questions interviewers are going to ask, and then ask yourself, if I were to answer that and it's a .NET interview, how would I answer it?
I see.
You know, maybe when you're watching some of these videos that are live, maybe before they answer, maybe you try to answer and then see what the interviewee answers.
I see.
Instead of just like watching the whole thing and then, you know, you didn't try to answer it yourself.
Yeah, I think that'd be better to like press pause and then try to answer or whichever way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's good.
All right, good. All right, so then that's it. So you have your action items, get that domain thing set, finish up your course, watch some more of those live interviews, come up with some more interview questions. And then this time when you're doing your notes, put it in your blog.
That's good.
Okay?
So I got publish website under domain, publish notes on Medium, search live coding interviews.
Yeah.
Anything else you feel like I should?
No,
That's
that's enough. And don't get scared. When you get stuck on stuff, don't make you not do it. We want to get your website up so you get comfortable publishing it, and then you can focus the same way you got good at editing, and now you don't need to think about it that much. You could just get the videos out. We want you to get comfortable publishing so that you could just focus on the code and publishing more stuff out.
Sounds good.
And of course, you got your videos. So you did 3 videos this week plus this. If you want to just do one next week, and then if we do another live, you can still count it as that, so you don't feel the pressure of having to do 3. Because this counts as a video.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to be an easy one. You don't need to really do any editing. It's just, hopefully we have audio.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure.
Those figures.
Okay, so
All right.
any final questions?
No, I think that's good.
This wasn't too scary, right, recording all this?
No, I just feel like,
Just wasn't live. But next time, if I ask you to do something like to test the camera first, don't wait till last minute, because,
Yeah, that was my mistake. I was thinking an hour is plenty.
No, it's the first time there's moving pieces to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think that wraps it up.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, folks. If you hung in there that long, hope you got some great value out of it. Like and subscribe to his channel. And you could probably reference my channel, too, in case they want to know
of course.
my channel. But that should be it. And ideally, we'll see you guys next week, okay?
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
All right. Talk to you later.